I guess the time has finally come for us to talk about the world building.
We come to it at last.
Salt.
This probably won't help my mental state, actually. There is no escape from this.
There is no escape from this.
To clarify, I want to talk about the world of the story, how it is presented, how it affects people in it, is it believable and why it isn't, the storytelling stuff. The game design side of it is fine. I would prefer less procedural generation. I think we could have a better game if we cut the amount of planets down by 70% and put more handmade content in the remaining 30%. Some non-human enemies more interesting than a large bug could also help, but overall I enjoy being there and exploring it. What I don't enjoy is discovering the history behind everything. It is, almost with no exception, pure cringe.
Hey, he said the title! He said the title, aren't you excited yet?
I don't think any other world created by Bethesda treats itself as seriously as this one. There's plenty of goofiness and crude jokes in the Fallout universe. A lot of its rules and mechanics don't make much sense, like radiation turning you into a long-living funny zombie, or making entirely synthetic humans in a world that can barely muster enough infrastructure and organization to provide running water to even the most developed settlements, or the weird-ass idea that people just decided to reject cleaning and renovations after the bombs just so the world can look post-apocalyptic. But since we know this is all very, very dark comedy, since we are guided by countless little jokes towards just embracing the silliness and awkwardness, it is all somehow tolerable. There is internal logic in this world too, even if it deviates from that what we know and what we would rationally assume about our universe. The various absurd bits of the Fallout universe at least work together well. Everything is slightly absurd and over the top. Every scientific experiment can lead to grotesque results. Zombies, huge green people, zombie people believing they are alien zombies from space, crazed radiation cultists. The other reason to forgive the silliness of the Fallout universe is just the sheer scope of its imagination. All these factions, and there is plenty of them, that clash against each other for the literal scraps of the old world. They all have their unique ideology, their own methods and relations with other factions. There are secrets, both small and personal and huge, society-defining, gigantic mysteries behind every corner. And don't even get me started with the Elder Scrolls universe. Everything that happens in that universe has several different interpretations already woven into the lore. It is all rather impressive.
Most impressive.
Meanwhile, what are the main factions deciding the fate of the world of Starfield? The main players in this world I am supposed to treat oh so seriously because it tries to address the big questions about some high-level stuff. Not my wording, that's actually how the lead designer puts it. It's Space California, but worse, and then Space Texas, but worse. A weirdo utopia of the American city folk turned bureaucratic nightmare, as there is no other way to utopia, and the other faction is, well, how people in California see the inner states, or maybe sometimes Texas. No healthcare, no law, just some rangers and rich libertarians exploiting the meek. It's weird that some people would choose to cosplay as cowboys in the 24th century. Weird that anyone would want to name their greatest city after a famously fallen civilization. I don't think they want the city to last, and I don't blame them. I spoke to people out there. Yeah, I would send a flood their way, sure. It's weird that no one in the United Colonies even considers a bloody revolution, seeing as the citizenship is basically an equivalent of medieval nobility, granted only on merit, which puts most of the population outside of the protection of the law, or at least creates different classes of protections and rights. Where is the outrage? Where are the protesters and civil unrest? Why is everybody buying their nonsense? They try to show the inner workings of the UC in the Vanguard questline, and it's freaking cringe.
Look at the top of his head!
The perfectly gender-balanced cabinet that has been keeping a world-known war criminal in their basement for decades for no other reason than to have an extra consultant, I guess. Do I get a chance to make it public or something? To fix something, anything in this insane faction? Why are these posers even pretending to be civilized? I must say at least Valentine's stupid twin from Far Harbor was capable of remorse. On the other side of the spectrum, we have a semi-feudal society of the Freestar Collective, gunslinging, frontier-exploring farmers ruled by a collective of rich people, which means Freestar Republic would be the name they would probably try to coin. I mean, nobody calls themselves oligarchy, although it would be more accurate in this instance. There's actually something wrong with most faction names in this vast universe of stupidity. Crimson Fleet! Crimson Fleet, really? Was this name invented by a 14-year-old designing his first D&D adventure? Holy crap, it would be better if they went for some generic names like Freestar Republic, United Planets, the Corsairs. I don't know, I think it would work better than condemning your capital city to eternal association with the fall of civilization. And who on earth came up with the name Spacers, by the way? It's so cheesy and hollow. If at least they were known for staying in space and living on spaceships for the fear of being caught by the law enforcement. But that's not exactly it. I met them on a planet many times. Just a sound that sort of fits, and that's the entire reasoning. Okay. Freestar Collective, who at first contact seems sort of fine, very individualistic and free market, which comes with a price, of course, but, mostly composed of decent people. Of course, I am expected to be surprised and bedazzled by the reveal that the insanely rich founder of the Hope Town in Freestar Collective, Ron Hope, turns out to be a selfish mobster willing to kill anyone who calls him out. I was not surprised at all. They oversell his introduction as a good and devoted job creator. Everyone and their uncle kept repeating how awesome Ron Hope was. Of course there was a shock reveal in order. I would be more surprised if he actually turned out to be a decent guy. Look, Emil, I know you're trying that trademark nuance of yours and that you want to show each faction has its problems. The thing is, this is a game, sort of an action game at that, which means my character is routinely risking their life for those factions. I know, we are big boys and this is a game for big boys with the big brains, but I need some shred of a reason to respect at least some of these people to want to fight for them. The Vanguard questline, for example, makes me meet the UC president. I would say it's paramount that something interesting, noble, inspiring, or at least endearing about Ma'am President is shown at some point. I mean, she only speaks presidential. She has no private life. The only thing we know of her is that she is the president. Could I get at least a brief private interaction where she could reveal her real character, show me that there is indeed something worth fighting for in the United Colonies, even if it's buried under tons of red tape? Maybe some details of her family life, something she herself wants to fight for. That would go a long way, if executed well, of course, which, is a false hope at this point. I know tons of movies and stories have done this, but guess what? Some solutions become a cliché because they have worked well for a long-ass time. And in case of Mr. Hope here, it would be much more surprising and more useful to the player and possibly more complicated if we have gone for a double smoke screen. We learn Hope is an awesome job creator, then we learn his company is doing all that horrible extortion and exploitation stuff, and then we go after him just to discover he allowed it because of desperation, because that ostensibly healthy company is actually on the brink of bankruptcy, which would leave thousands of Hope's employees hopeless, jobless, and hungry. He allowed for an atrocity to happen out of fear for his people, and now he wants to repent. Come to think of it, even the last name of Ron Hope could be more appropriate for this imaginary plotline, since Ron Hope inspired hope in 1,000 men and women, and then he allowed himself to do some villainous stuff out of misguided hope that lesser evil can avert a greater one. Judging by Ron's initial defense in the quest, it's already basically what they were going for a little bit, but they had to take a step further, of course, a step towards a mustache twirl and a rampant idiocy. And in the end, it turns out he's only good to the people who are unquestionably and blindly loyal to him. No more than a mob boss, really. This is particularly important for the world building, as this is one of the very few quests offering you a deeper insight into what is the Freestar Collective in terms of its core values, its social norms, its goals, its ideology. If you want to make things morally grey, Emil, it's not enough to tell me all these people I hope are decent and want to improve things are actually evil idiots. From time to time, at least, you must also provide me with a positive, hopeful surprise, especially if you want me to get any sort of pride and accomplishment out of all that pew-pew. Also, my version of Ron Hope is almost the same as the one in the game, but with conscience, and he would be extra surprising in the context of the current year, when so many people in the entertainment industry, those overpaid, overprivileged people held in high esteem for the skills of making stuff up and pretending to be someone else, these guys can't make a single story without forcibly injecting the "did you know capitalism bad" theme.
And I stole it. It's called Capitalism.
Hurt, rob, kill indiscriminately, and maybe, just maybe if you're lucky, you become a 3-bit gangster. It's bullshit. Go to college. Then you're gonna rip people off and get paid for it. It's called capitalism.
At least you're stealing from the bad guys and helping the good.
Good guys, bad guys, made up words. Let's see who formerly owned this gorgeous hunk. This guy is an arms dealer. Made his bank selling weapons to the bad guys. Oh. I'm the good.
I mean, I know socialism is a charged word, but we could learn a lot from these...
Dad.
How'd you pay for that?
It was free. Food's free in most universes, actually. It's weird you guys have to pay for it.
I'm escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism. Space!
So I am now struggling to find anyone I would respect or want to fight for in this game, but I'm sure as soon as the main villain faction of the game pops up and starts wrecking those two moronic factions, my perspective will change drastically, because as much as most people in the game are annoying, I probably don't want to see them all massacred and subdued by some cosmic psychopaths. Haha, dear viewer, what a surprise. There is no real antagonist faction, no actual villains, just the Starborn. Another name, by the way, that would be perfect for your first Dungeons & Dragons session. It doesn't seem so fine when invented by a couple of guys in their 40s and 50s, claiming to be trying to tackle the deepest philosophical questions in existence. Guys, please explain, why is everything simultaneously pretentious, snobbish, and also named by an 8-year-old that recently OD'd on sugar? In what way are those sad edgelords born of stars? Is there something you're not telling me, Todd? Did you, after Skyrim, decide it's just a total banger to slap the word born at the end of any word you're currently thinking about? They are not of the stars. They are variants of your half-assed NPCs racing towards the biggest artifact collection. They are from other settled systems. They don't even know what is the end game or indeed the start game of their silly pursuits. Again, a generic name like Wayfarers or Pilgrims would be marginally better, because there is nothing specific or unique about these guys anyway. The main idea was, I guess, that of a cautionary tale of what could happen to you if you lose yourself in the race towards discovery, if you mindlessly go where no one has gone before. They lose their personality, their values, trapped in the search for more knowledge and power. No end to this, but it is executed with the subtlety and precision of a drunk old Shrek with extra chromosomes. At no point you've made a convincing case showing exploration and the hunger for knowledge as dangerous. As I said, humanity moved swimmingly away from the crisis of Lost Earth, and then the main explorers of the world, the Constellation, have nothing unsettling or concerning about them. If Bethesda wasn't so devoted to their idea of nuance, they could actually say something, anything. Maybe you could show the crippling madness of the hunger for power and knowledge, slowly turning the Starborn Starborn into grotesque mustache-twirling villains. Maybe on the other hand we could have had the main quest centered around a civil war between two factions of Starborn, one trying to close shut the jaws of the multiverse, the other destroying everything in their path to obtain more powers. We've got a bastardized version of this with the Emissary and the Hunter, but there is no time to really explore what they are for, what they are up to. No amount of repetitive clunky dialogue can fix this. You have to actually show me something more than a conversation. Some drama, underground secret settlements of the more destructive Starborn constantly arming themselves for the inevitable multiversal war. A council or a ruler of the anti-multiverse Starborn evolving from monk-like well-meaning people to besieged obsessive autocrats demanding all plans and ambitions in regards with the multiversal travels being destroyed and forgotten. Instead, we got more of that trademark Bethesda dialogue that tries to be like Interstellar, the way your 5-year-old kid tries to be Spider-Man by jumping on a dresser. Spider-Man! Also, who is making the spaceships for the Starborn? Just, by the way, from the top of my head, is there some sort of a shipbuilding interplanar extra-dimensional universe of starship designers? Is it the creators again? Why is there a new spaceship around me and a new spacesuit on me when I enter the Unity? Was Matteo right? Is God building us fancy shiny vessels so that we can pew-pew in his name? What the hell is this? I guess it doesn't really matter. After all, we have so many important, deep subjects and themes to tackle.
You mean vagina?
So yeah, we got two mysterious, extremely talkative idiots on top of the two other brands of idiocy. A bureaucratic one and a late-stage capitalism one. And I bet the writers at Bethesda were congratulating themselves for presenting the players with such a nuanced conflict. But I just have no one to root for in this world. Why would I care about any of these factions? You know, the idea of an alien invasion, be it actually from alien civilization or from other planes of reality like when Alduin returns, it may be an old trope, but at least it puts everyone in danger. The rulers, the civilians, the poor and the rich. Regardless of what I think about the social order in the world, I don't want to see all my favorite NPCs eaten by a giant lizard. But this is a game for big boys, you see. We do not engage with such frivolous storytelling devices. We just do bloat and call it deep. No, really, there is a Polygon interview where the lead designer for Starfield actually admits they rejected all the fun plot devices because players already had them in other games. Instead, they wanted to tackle the unanswered questions of the meaning of fucking life. You can do that, by the way, while having something interesting to do, you self-indulgent, talentless hacks. You avoided a cliché, congratulations, and offered instead a world where nothing matters because multiverse, and where I have no business helping any of the main factions, where the main quest Explorers Guild can't do too much exploring because they are too sensitive, and where all your questions about the universe are answered by repeating the same questions over and over until you finally get bored with exploding jetpacks. Fucking clown world.
Well, that's just lazy writing.
The mystery and weirdness of Morrowind is a long-gone memory. The quip and witty humor of Fallout is entirely abandoned. And the newfound seriousness is pure cringe. With all that, I simply cannot find the answer to why the fresh hell you guys have decided to put mechs and battle dinosaurs in this pretentious nonsense of an universe. It fits everything else like a brick to the face. So much effort went into designing a world that feels grounded, semi-realistic, believable, and then mechs and combat dinosaurs. Yes, I know terrormorphs are more like giant bugs than giant reptiles. It just reminds me so much and so painfully of the other symphony of cringe, the Jurassic World movies. And I wouldn't say anything about it. It is a video game after all, it is supposed to be fun and sometimes wacky. But these half-wits insisted on making almost everything else in the universe look grounded and serious. Not my choice. If it was up to me, there would be alien races, goofy isolated settlements with bizarre cultures, cheesy bounty hunters using laser swords and funny cuss words. But in this world, as it is, battle dinosaurs are just... I think I will refer to MauLer again.
The point here is you need to give up the militarization bullshit. It is so cartoony and stupid. Dinosaurs need to be fed, sheltered, groomed, and rested. They are massive creatures with massive needs. They would be shit in a war. Dinosaurs need to be able to actually tell the difference between civilians and enemies. I guess that feeding them from birth will make it so that they never attack their own team like Blue does. Fuck off, that's stupid. They would be shit in a war. Dinosaurs are weak to gas, wonky terrain, explosives, enemy shrapnel. They're also huge targets. They would be shit in a war. What the hell are they gonna do against a shotgun? Run up to a guy and fucking hope he doesn't fire? They would be shit in a war. Don't try and justify it by referencing the fact that Soviets once used diseased rats. How the fuck is that the same thing, you donkey? Oh, I'm sorry, was I supposed to turn my brain off? That's how you enjoy bad films, right?
Yeah, what he said. All of it applies to xeno-warfare. And then the mechs. I may be a bit slow, but why would you want to use mechs when you have fairly intelligent robots which do not require a human pilot? You have sentient AI too. I mean, probably it is outlawed, but hey, stranger things can happen between space Democrats and space Republicans, right?
One day he came up and burped behind me and then blew it.
That wasn't burping.
He blew it.
It wasn't burping. That was the wind that shoots off in a sexier way.
No.
You have drone strikes. Imagine combining that with sentient AI. You also have a technology that can completely obliterate the magnetosphere and therefore the atmosphere of any fucking planet. No, I don't buy the idea nobody has figured that one out. Everybody uses graph jumps daily. Someone would get a hint sooner or later. Every single faction has spaceships of all sizes that can easily double down as aircrafts, flying in atmospheres of all types with no problems. You can carpet bomb whoever you like in a matter of minutes, maybe hours, including the prep time. You do not need mechs. You would have to be partly brain dead to insist on them with all that infinitely more dangerous technology at your disposal. I feel I have to reiterate. I would never levy a similar complaint against a Fallout game. It's all a fever dream there anyway. But here, with all these little bits of realism, with how seriously this world treats itself, with the lead designer's complete inability to pull his head out of his own ass, it's just cringe. Imagine, dear viewer, that in the third act of Interstellar, say, Matthew McConaughey suddenly jumps into a suit of power armor that has never been explained or even mentioned, and then Anne Hathaway is like, let's not go gentle into that, good night. And Matthew is like,
to that I say, alright, alright, alright.
And then Matt Damon pops up riding a mind-controlled velociraptor, yelling, hasta la vista, loser, and then Matthew starts shooting freaking pink terramorphing laser beams out of his very ass, and food starts growing everywhere. That is, ladies and gentlemen, the world building in Starfield in a nutshell.